It's the Auburn Observer Podcast. We're back a little later than usual, but there's a reason for that. We hope we can make it up for you right here, right now. As I was telling Dan before we started recording, I'm Justin Ferguson, joined, as usual, by my co-pilot, Dan Peck. Hello, Dan.
Ahoy, Justin. It's great to see you, as always. We are in the ESPN 106.7 studios, where they make a lot of high-quality programming.
Yes.
And we encourage you guys to check it all out. Really appreciate the folks at Auburn Network for letting us use the studio.
Yeah. Wings 94.3 also, just got to say it, for even though we're not in the Wings 94.
Right. It's for the bigger house. You know what I mean? We've transitioned to ESPN for this episode, but usually we're in the Wings 94.3 studio. Wings 94.3, your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
Auburn football, men's basketball, baseball, which we will get into extensively in this podcast, Tiger Talk, all that good stuff. Wings 94.3 game right now. What you got?
Give me the Lido Shuffle by Boz Scaggs.
Wow, I don't know.
I think that's my guess. Or Lowdown. No, give me Lido Shuffle. Give me.
Sorry, we were looking for One Way or Another by Blondie.
Okay, sure.
Very, very easy one to get to. Easy to mix those two up.
I like my guess better.
Yeah.
Shout out to Blondie, though.
We got a lot to talk about here on this episode. We are recording a little bit later. We're recording this on Tuesday night. You'll hear it on Wednesday morning because I think it's fitting that this podcast got delayed because everything in Auburn got delayed over the weekend. And if you are a subscriber to The Observer, you listened to our last episode where we previewed the Auburn Baseball Regional with our guest, Adam Cole and Henry Patton. And then the regional happened. And it was long, and there were rain delays, and people were up all night and all that stuff. And all the way to the end, it got delayed and got delayed. And so it wrapped up. The regional wrapped up late Monday night. We're recording this on Tuesday night. We decided to wait it out because we wanted to bring them back. So if you're an Observer subscriber, you know what's coming. If you're not, become an Observer subscriber, and you'll be in on these things a little bit easier. Adam Cole and Henry Patton both back joining us for this episode. First off, hello, Adam.
Hello, Ferg. Dan, that was a phenomenal guess. I just like Lido Shuffle. Like that's everyone picks Lowdown. You know, when you go to Boz Scaggs, everybody's like, "Oh, Lowdown."
That was for you, buddy.
That was a good poll. Yeah. I appreciated that.
And Henry Patton, a guy who has no idea what's being talked about right now because I don't either. So,
correct.
What's up, Henry?
I'm sitting here just eyes wondering, just
being very Gen Z right now.
Exactly.
I was going to say that conversation was not for people who saw back rooms. This opening weekend, right? That's for the over 50.
You know what the latest Fortnite skins are? You did not get that. You did not get that reference.
I don't know either. I might just be cooked.
But we got Henry and Adam back in the trap with us today to talk Auburn baseball's regional. We will break down everything that went on this past weekend. Adam obviously covering it for the Montgomery Advertiser. Henry covering it for us at The Observer. Check out all of their work. Check out, Henry had observations. Adam had plenty of stuff this weekend as well. And we'll be rolling it right into the Super Regional. We will also talk about the Super Regional. Kind of go ahead, knock out a little bit of a preview for that this weekend as Auburn plays Ole Miss. But, gentlemen, let's get to it. How are we feeling before we get going? Like, how are we feeling, like, physically, sleep-wise, body-wise, because you guys, we talk about how tough this is for players to go through, obviously, with all the delays and all that, but, like, y'all burned the NIL. I mean, Henry filed a story. Dan, I don't know if I told you this. Henry filed his story Tuesday morning at 6:15 a.m. He was putting in the Dan Peck hours.
The old Dan Peck.
The old Dan
hours.
Peck. Yeah. We'll get into that too. That'll happen. We'll talk about that later in the show. But how are you guys feeling? Because y'all went through a war this weekend covering this thing.
Well, I was going to ask Henry, how much sleep did you get last night?
6 hours.
That says it all.
6 hours.
Well, like
the raspberry at the beginning.
Did you go to bed at 6 a.m.?
I went to bed around 6:30.
Man, I passed out it was around 4 o'clock because I knew I had a meeting at 9.
And it was regrettable you were at that intersection.
Yes.
I don't have that.
Yes, no, Dan did see me last night because, I went up to Tumors to record a little video hit. And as I'm getting all my stuff out, this car honks at me. It's this little sedan. And I'm like, who is that? And then it peels off in front of me, and 2 people pile out of the back window and stick their heads out. And then I think, was there somebody in the passenger seat?
Yeah, I was taking some folks home.
And then a bunch of people yelled my name, and I was like, I don't know who any of those people are. And then
you got people to yell his name.
I spotted Adam Cole at the red light. I
Yes.
see someone vlogging at Toomer's Corner.
Yep.
And I think, well, there's a chance, and I recognize my good buddy Adam Cole.
You could see the shine off of my head.
And I tell my passengers, it would be pretty great. is if we and they were fans of your work too, so I mean it was but yeah,
they didn't know my name.
Oh, absolutely, they knew your name.
I don't believe that.
Ichiban Sweet Boy, you heard him yell it out as we were driving by.
So you guys are doing good. You're recovered. You got time to recover before Super.
Here's my thing.
Yes.
That late game is honestly kind of built for me.
Yes.
Like the 10-10 first pitch, I was all for that. I'm gonna be honest, that was a great time.
So real quick, if you read Henry's stuff at the Observer, which if you're a subscriber, you better be doing that, and if you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe and do it anyway. Henry usually files stuff like at like crazy hours, and I get to it in the morning when I wake up. So this series was perfect for you, Adam. You're getting older.
Yeah.
And so how are we feeling?
I will say this: that 10-10 game, because this game is running late after what it had. The game before it, the Central Florida game, had
5 hours of delay.
Something like that, yeah. And getting tired, and you're figuring, like, they'll probably just play 2 tomorrow, right? And I just went back up into the press box and asked George Nunley, I was like, are they going to push this back? And he was like, they're playing 2 today. And at that point, I don't know what the heck hit me, but, like, I was just kind of like, well, you can either sit here and groan or, like, you can get with it. And then Brian Matthews said he was going to go get coffee, and I was like, please bring me something. And I think that just kind of mixed.
B-Matt's great for a caffeine hookup.
No,
that's one of his elite, like, beat partner skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going to be a guy that makes sure the crew's taken care of and caffeinated.
It's very like Christopher Nolan Batman coded, the fact that you're like getting older and it's tougher to put in these kind of hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Bale, struggling to be able to make those.
Does that mean we're in the third one?
Yeah.
Does that mean Dark Knight Rises?
I had a dream, Batman.
Why do we follow Master Wayne? Batman
right.
Begins.
So we've recovered, so let's talk about it. This was an insane weekend in so many different ways. And I think just right off the rip, Henry, you wrote about this at the Observer on Sunday morning, and we talked about it throughout the weekend. The number of teams that took the path that Auburn took, especially as a 1 seed, to win their regional is rare. It's super, super rare. To lose your first game and then you have to win every single one of the next 4 to make it past. It's a tough feat to accomplish, and when you get beat by a 4 seed, especially in the fashion that Auburn did in that first game, there's so many reasons to write them off or say, okay, this is looking like it's going to go sideways pretty quickly.
Or even, can I jump in here real quick? Or even because I saw people online, I even heard a little bit of this where it's like folks were sharpening the knives because the team failed on Friday. It's like and trying to tie it to other things that had gone wrong, like this season with Auburn,
or calling back to previous. Postseasons that
Sure.
did not go Auburn's way.
Yeah, and I think regardless of thinking like, oh, the ghosts of the past are up here, but for this team to rebound from that first game, like what it says about them.
I mean, it honestly does not surprise me because, like, all year their thing has been, all right, the game happened, we're going to forget it, we're going to move on, and
which is so huge for a baseball team.
Yeah,
I mean, baseball is a game of failure. You hear that all the time. The very best hitters get out 7 out of 10 times. Like, it is a game predicated on you're not going to get the job done most of the time. And so, but this team, I mean, throughout the season, they've had that narrative. Like, they've done a really, really good job of responding to adversity.
I mean, yeah, because, when you're in the SEC, you are playing pretty much every week the best teams in the country. You're going to have clunkers. So, the 7-week stretch where it was basically back-to-back-to-back, all teams that either were regional hosts or top 25, so on and so forth. I mean, they dropped some ugly ones. I can remember the first game against Mississippi State was 7-0 and
that was Marciano's the last time he struggled.
Yeah,
was the game in Starkville. I think he only went 2 innings.
And it's not comparable, I know, because of the way the games are in the pigeon, but this was a team that also had some clunkers in midweeks, and so it's like you play a team, Adam, like a Milwaukee, and I know, like Jack State, some of these teams they played in their midweeks were really, really good, not to mention like a Georgia Tech or something like that, although we will talk about them. But, like, yeah, it's like you struggle with an underdog. Yeah, like even as good as this Auburn baseball team is, they had been in that spot before and figured out ways to rally past it.
I think, considering the circumstance became what it was, maybe not the circumstance becoming what it was, I think you lucked into losing in the way you did in that first game with how early all of those runs came, because the minute they moved on from Cormier and Abe Chancellor comes out of that bullpen, and that's like no disrespect to Abe Chancellor. I think that's still a guy who's plenty capable, and he's not your first in the line. But once that happened, it was like, okay, like they're going to save their best arms. They're going to try to do this, and like if it was that much closer and you fall on the wrong side of it, and suddenly maybe you burn Marciano for the weekend, and then maybe you use that much more Cormier. Like I wonder how much different it would have looked if that game was that much closer early. But like for them to be able to almost like you don't want to lose that game, obviously, but considering you lost it, the fact that you lucked into that circumstance of it becoming what it was that early, I think kind of saved them in a sense, as weird as that might sound.
And there are a lot of different players you could sort of single out. Marciano, since we've mentioned a couple times, like how surprised were you to see him struggle the way he did Friday? And then what does it say about him to bounce back as he did and give you a little bit more before the series was over?
I don't know that I was I was surprised, because it's that Milwaukee team on paper. I will say, for what it's worth, I knew going in that they had won 7 in a row. I did not realize that they had started like 5-23 and then went like 20-8 to close out the season heading into the tournament. But he's a guy who we've seen it. Like, I don't know what the correlation is there, but he has struggled to get run support in his starts. And on top of that, like, Mississippi State is not Milwaukee, right? Like that's a whole different caliber, but he's been tacked early before. I think this is a guy who has a lot of talent, but I think he's still young and figuring some things out. So like, I wasn't surprised, but somehow I was in a way like still a little shocked. Like there's some middle ground in all of that for sure. But I mean, we saw it with that Milwaukee team like all weekend. Like they were right there with everybody that they played. Obviously,
maybe they were the story and not Marciano.
I think so.
On Friday.
Because I mean, right after him, LJ Cormier comes in, who had been nails pretty much for the last pretty much all season, but especially for the last month, and they shelled him. And so like I don't like Marciano struggled, but like they were just for about a couple days, and the month prior they were just kind of hooping.
And they were supposed to be the underdog in the UCF game.
Yeah.
Like the Saturday night game, and they crumpled up UCF and threw them in the trash too.
Did pretty much the same script. Jumped on them early, kind of held on for dear life in a sense, because like both Auburn and UCF kind of cut into it a little, but never truly threatened.
Well, and then the other thing that I think made this weekend so extraordinary is that you come back out in game 2, you got to have it against NC State, and this team where pitching had been so awesome. And you could have been like, you know what, that was a weird game yesterday. We got ambushed. They jumped on us, and we never really recovered. But then for NC State to basically do the exact same thing to you offensively. Now, Auburn's offense was awesome at the beginning, and Auburn's offense caught a little fire there at the end of game 1 against Milwaukee too. Obviously, too little, too late, but that was something that I think was really striking. And again, that's where a lot of the knife sharpening would come up from there. It was just like, wait, what the heck? This team had been so awesome at pitching. You're letting Milwaukee and NC State bat you around the yard. This was not what was happening even when y'all were facing some of the best teams in the SEC. So to go from that to what we see in the next 3 games where Auburn's pitching staff was back to its elite best, where the heck does that come from in your opinion, Adam?
I mean, I think when you look at, and funny enough, it's like I think of Auburn's starters, the two who have like the most dog in them, so to speak, are Andreas Alvarez and Alex Petrovic. And, even then, like NC State did tack Dre for a good little bit, but Petrovic's just a guy who, he gave up? Did he give up 2 in the first 2 innings? One apiece?
I mean, the first one was on the second pitch of the game.
Right.
How scared in the Petrovic start when they pulled them off the field at the bottom of the first? It's you're in a very real possibility that they're going to have to maybe have a long delay.
Yeah.
And the guy that Auburn thought was going to save their season is going to get yanked out.
That's the part, and I think it was from that game on, like staff wide, that impressed me the most was, he only did so much warming up pregame, but it was did we say it was 2 or 3 hours of delays heading into the game? It was more than one. Let's just leave it was more than 1 hour.
Several delays.
Yes, and then you have 2 that early on, and I just kept thinking like at a certain point he's not going to come back out there, and he withstood it, and then he goes, I think it was 108 pitches in 6 innings, which that's not atypical for him or Dre. I think Dre threw 106 in like 5 2/3. But the fact that he withstood all of that, continued to look like his vintage sort of self of getting that much better throughout the start really impressed me. And then Ryan Hetzler, just different. Like that was not something I expected to see in the slightest, him turning it around that way.
And to your point, though, with Petra, like, Henry, you wrote it in your feature that you wrote it last week on him, but, like, he has been the epitome of tough first inning, once if you can survive the early stretch, he's gonna settle in. And some pitchers are like that. I mean, there was a run there for a while where like Chris Sale was like that when he first got to Atlanta. Like, you have that kind of ability. It's like, all right, when he settles in, it's over. You just got to make sure he just doesn't get tagged too much early.
I think it was after the Oklahoma game, because this would have been also a week after the Florida game where he gave up the 3-run. He said post game, like, yeah, you better get to me early before I settle in. And like
that's a dog.
Yeah,
that's such a dog thing to say. Like, man, that's awesome.
The guy.
And what you need from a pitcher. Like, I love that mentality.
You mentioned Hetzler. Like, to me, like the thought of in a back against the wall, season on the line situation with the bullpen having already been taxed in a couple of games in the series, for your closer to give you those innings to slam the door on UCF. And then say, I still feel pretty good. We're playing again in an hour. I'll go back out there and I'll give you a couple more. Like, with all of and there have been several like phenomenal hitting performances this weekend. I feel like Hetzler might be the player because of what he did on Sunday.
Well,
the one I might remember because it's like what an individual step up from a guy who's been a closer or a reliever for a big chunk of the season.
I think
maybe I'm just a casual, but I think there's a hitting performance.
There is a regional wide hitting performance that I think there's a reason that Chase Fralick was the MVP this weekend. But I do think in terms of singular moment from this weekend, there is nothing wilder than what Ryan Hetzler did, and in theory, like it made enough sense. We were chatting about it a little bit of like how would you handle this if you get to that second game on that day, and it's like, well, whoever you bring in to close, like we all kind of figured it'd probably be Hetzler. Like, see if you can roll him back out there. And then it was like 55 minutes, and it was like, I wonder if they'll actually do it. And then we get the lineup cards, and it's like, oh my gosh, like okay, he's coming back out. And the fact that
that is such a unique situation. Like, no, you're never going to be put in that spot again.
And he's just like he's that unique kind of reliever to me. Of I think I've talked about it like several times before, but you just watched him last year grow from being a de facto closer to being like an innings-eating long relief guy who has kind of, similar to what Jackson Sanders has become this year. And the fact that he's able to do all of that and then go out and throw his first start in an Auburn uniform and deliver in that way was just nothing like it.
And in no way was that intended as a slight at Chase Fralick.
No.
Because to be clear, like Chase Fralick probably the season's not over, but like Chase Fralick is having the best season by an Auburn catcher in recent memory. And like that's look, Ike Irish was a tremendous catcher. Josh Donaldson's got his name on the building having played catcher at Auburn, and still like what Fralick's done. And I know like it was a crazy year for catchers in the SEC. I know there's been conversation this weekend about how does Chase Fralick not get more notice from the conference than he did. This is a year where the guy who plays catcher at Georgia led the conference in OPS, and A&M's catcher, I think, finished 4th or 5th this year. And it's a crazy year for hitting catchers where Chase Fralick is, it's like you could make an argument for leaving Chase Fralick off based on the season. But the series he just had is, it's the stuff of legend.
Real quick, I want to circle back to Hetzler because he told us post game that him and Everett Tieford talked before the 9th inning, and he said, "Hey, I have this idea. Are you trying to go in the next game?" He said, "Yeah, let's do it." So He pitched the 9th inning against UCF with the thought in mind of, I'm going to have a 55-minute delay, and then I'm also going to come back out.
It's on the audacity to think that you're going to do that, and for Tiford to know that to have a guy that he knows can do it, and still even after an hour represents like one of the best options Auburn had.
And just the fact that like he has not, I would say he is right outside the cut line of like Auburn's most utilized pitchers all throughout the season. Like he's right there and he is of their caliber, but they don't use him that much. And then he comes out and does what he does in the SEC tournament game against Arkansas and delivers you 5 innings and only gives up 2 runs. And it was kind of like, you knew then, like, okay, well, you know he is, you know Ryan Hetzler's still Ryan Hetzler. Like, you've got that heading into the regional. And then the fact that it delivers in that way, I thought the coolest detail we learned about that, like, the Tiford conversation was cool, and I think it was probably equal, like bare minimum, but Butch said after the title game that for inning like 3 and 4, his last 2, like every pitch or every hitter that Hetzler faced, like after he set him down, he would just look at Butch and give him a thumbs up. And Butch was like, I've never been in a situation where like you need that, you know.
He must have been like Roger Ebert, right? I mean, it was just nothing but thumbs up. Because it was over and over again what Hetzler was able. I mean, it was just again with several tremendous offensive performances, like what Hetzler did is right. Just
you win this regional because your pitching gets back to being Auburn pitching, but it's also good that you had your offense go supernova like it did it several times in this regional.
I think the one thing that I kept thinking about throughout the regional, because if I'm right, after Milwaukee went up 10-0 in the first game, Auburn outscored them 8-3. You kind of saw, okay, well, like the offense figured it out too late, but the offense figured it out. And then to see what they go on to do in those next 4, coming into the year, like what that team was throughout the year was really like the inverse of the expectation. You didn't really know what you had in the pitching. You didn't know how consistent it'd be, but you were really confident in that lineup. And then it just flip-flops throughout the year, and you've just got this dominant staff, and you've got a lineup that shows you a lot of potential from time, but still, you know, it's baseball. Every once in a while, they look pretty human. And just all week, I just kept thinking, like, this is the team that we thought we were going to be watching, you know, all year. And the fact that you've got the offense clicking the way it is heading into a super, like, you've got to be feeling pretty confident.
Well, it's like Henry, we talk about it a lot, especially in basketball. So you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the year. And I think Auburn, you knew that the pitching was capable of what they had. You get that with an offense that's got confidence at the plate, you've got a complete team. And at this point in the way this NCAA tournament is shaking out, you got to beat Ole Miss, and we'll get to that later on in the show, previewing that. But like, you've got a complete package, and there's not a whole lot of complete packages left in this bracket with the way, you know, this first weekend shook out.
So something that's kind of wild to me. So like, you know, baseball is very mental, very vibes based sport in a sense, and very rhythm based. Auburn gets against NC State, they're the road team, and they dropped eight runs instantly. If they're the home team in that, I don't know if that happens. So like, it's a very strange, very weird rule. But I kind of think it really, really benefited Auburn, and like, you know, can't really play hypotheticals here, but like, if they're the home team there, I don't know.
You don't know if they jump on it like that,
because like, I think part of the Milwaukee game was they were so shook by the way they came out, and
it was stunning, man. Like before, I had just checked the score. And I thought the game had just started, and they're already down, like 5 or 6. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I think everybody, you know, if I'm thinking that and people in the park are thinking that, you know, tell them what you're thinking when you're the one actually going through it.
I mean, when we recorded last week, I'll be honest, I kind of discounted Milwaukee.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because on paper, what did you have? And even if you're like, oh, they got hot at the end of the year. Oh, it's the Horizon League. Mm-hmm. They had to squeak out to get into this tournament. But it's baseball.
Yeah. And like, it's baseball, but like, I was talking to my boss about it during the game of like, you know, I think about that Penn team in 23 that had, you know, 2 or 3 guys who were already committed to like Schlossnagle at Texas A&M. Their ace went on to be drafted by the Phillies that year. Ryan Dombrowski, very funny guy. I got to know him a little bit that weekend, like, and he's hilarious. Just absolutely hilarious. I don't know where he is now, but Anyways, an Ivy League team might have a few pieces like that because that just tends to be the way it goes. And maybe maybe Auburn loses a 2-1 close shave to a hypothetical Ivy League team, but like to lose the way you did to that team on paper, like I had to go back and check myself in the story I wrote after the game of like, you've got to balance that out from the standpoint of like, yeah, on paper that's not acceptable, but like the thing I kept writing was you're theoretically built for this, and then you proved that you were.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk though about the hitting performance of the weekend, because it's extraordinary where you come in and you're like, all right, I'm going to hit a homer every game. I'm going to hit multiple homers in these games as well. And just they
had 14 coming into the season.
There was a pretty funny little thing going on during the weekend like broadcast where Greg Olson kept joking. It's like, well, he doesn't have a single yet. Because all he had been doing was hitting extra base hits. And he's like, as a pitcher, it's like, man, he hadn't gotten a cheap one. Like, it was the point of, like, he had not gotten a cheap one. It was all – and he does get a cheap one in the finale, but, like,
I didn't think that was cheap because he beat out a dribbler and a throw on an infield single. I'm just talking about, like, the
contact.
But
it went like 30 miles off of his bat.
Right.
Like,
do it all hitter.
Yeah, he proved he was a 5-tool player in that moment.
But here's the thing with him that's so crazy to talk about. With Chase Fralick, is like he's still an underclassman, crazy, but he's doing it while also being an outstanding catcher. Butch Thompson said it. Henry, you mentioned in your observations, like ball didn't get past him the whole weekend. Yeah. He's catching these games. He's calling these games. He's doing all that stuff, and he's hitting tanks. And it's like last season in the majors when Cal Raleigh was doing his thing, it was like, this is absurd. You're not supposed like, how can you be this good of a power hitter? Your knees should be shot right now. Like, and you've played this whole season. You're playing,
and maybe they are now.
Yeah, you're playing this whole season, and like you're playing this marathon regional, and he's still like at the biggest moment of the game where you needed him to thump one. I'm watching the game. Mary Kate's saying like, it says like, man, it'd be great if he'd hit a homer right here. And she's like, I kind of expect it because that's just what he's been doing. And then, boom, drills one. And it's like, that's kind of what he's been. And to do that as a catcher, like, if you do that at any position, that's nuts. To do it as catcher, knowing what kind of strain that puts on you is crazy.
18 innings after about 5 hours of delay. And, you're carrying the offense while doing that. Yeah. No.
It's crazy. Because, like, look, no disrespect to anybody else, but it's like I'll say this. If like, a guy like Bub Terrell goes on that kind of heater hitting the ball. Well, when he's in the outfield, when he's in left field, he's just kind of like you may get a ball hit to you every inning or two. You may, like you got to be alert, you got to be backing up and stuff like that. You got to be aware.
He had a nice sliding catch, by the way.
Yeah, he did. Every pitch you have to be on your game as a catcher, or you're toast. You're toast. And then like I tweeted the photo of it during the game. It was like. He turned into Ted Williams during this. Like it didn't matter who was pitching. It didn't matter what kind of stuff they had, what kind of velocity they had. He was going to find it and square it up. And in that weekend, if you squared up a ball, it was probably going over the fence, like more often than not. And it's unbelievable. It is that performance. No matter what happened, Auburn does this weekend in Super Regionals. People are going to remember all the freaking rain from this past weekend. They'll remember the pitching. They'll remember Hetzler. They'll remember, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people 10, 20, 30 years from now are going to be talking. You remember when Chase Fralick went absolutely nuclear that regional? And that's the cool stuff. That's where you become a legend. And I think Chase Fralick could be a pro ball player, MLB guy for a while. But, like, he's a hero forever. He's a legend in a lot of people's minds forever based off of what he did these last few games. And that's what's really, really cool about college sports.
The coolest thing that I felt like I realized this weekend, and I don't think it would have been realized without what Chase did, was just the fact that you've had this young core for 2 years. And obviously the big three of Chase, Bub, and Chris. But, I mean, there are plenty of auxiliary pieces around it, whether that's Andreas Alvarez or whoever else. But I feel like in watching these guys grow up, you see especially for next year, who your stars in theory are going to be. And obviously, far and away, I think Chase Fralick played himself into certainly preseason All-American status next year. If anything, they haven't named All-American teams this year, have they? Right? I know they've named conference, but just with what he did, you clearly have a star.
In a typical year, this would be he'd be the best catcher in the conference.
Right. But you had Daniel Jackson, and then nationally, I think about Van Lackey, Von Lackey, I think technically, but to watch him and then to also watch
that's the Georgia Tech kid, right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, people were talking about him going top 3, 4
ridiculous.
In this draft. Yeah.
You to me have two pieces of that young core who have solidified themselves as upperclassmen leadership star status, and it's Chase Fralick and Jackson Sanders to me. Those two guys, what they have been able to do for you, whether it was, this past weekend, they both did it, but, they did it throughout the year in their own way, and I think certainly so for Jackson, but the step up, I think would be the phrase. To see that come out of those guys in particular was just, you watched the future kind of being foreshadowed and written to me this weekend.
The thought that he did what he did at the plate while also catching every inning of the series.
I can't get over it. I cannot get over it.
And he said after the doubleheader, we talked to them very briefly on technically Monday.
Yeah, it would have been around 1 a.m.
Yeah, it was about 1 a.m. And it was
We've had some basketball press conferences like that, but you usually don't get those in baseball.
Yeah, but I think there was a question of did you think you were going to catch all of them? And it was just he was no, I didn't. That's
got
what
all
I figured.
off season to rest.
Yeah,
that's the attitude I think you want. Especially for a team that, again, it all starts with that punch in the stomach to start the series. This was not the storybook weekend for Auburn, because it starts with such a disappointing loss to Milwaukee, and then from that moment on, it's gut check time for 30 plus innings, right, for this Auburn baseball team, and they kept answering the call.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Henry, you also mentioned in your short, there's so many great hitting performances in this, and obviously the big one. But Ethan Bingaman, welcome to postseason baseball, young man. Just go ahead and keep tearing it up. But that's what he's been doing all season for Auburn.
I think part of it with him is he's been kind of on this tear for the last at least month and a half and change. I remember the Jacksonville State midweek at home where Auburn got smoked, but I think he homered at least once.
He really turned it on towards the end of conference play.
Yeah, no, and ever since then, it's just been consistently this. And so
that seems to be the case with freshmen for Butch the last couple of years too. He seems to know who's going to be able to step in and contribute for a team that's trying to win right now.
As I understand it, it's not a coincidence that Ethan Bingaman is wearing number 18. And obviously we all think of Ike Irish, but there's also another guy who's in Auburn's dugout who wore number 18 when he played for Auburn, Gabe Gross. And Gabe has done a really phenomenal job of finding these young pupils and building them up. And it was I talked to Bub before the regional started, and we're talking about, just a bunch of different stuff. And eventually we were just talking about the coaching staff, and he was like, Gabe's my favorite coach. He's like, because whenever I talk to Gabe, we just always wind up talking about hitting. It doesn't matter how it starts. We eventually just start talking about hitting. And
I thought we were going to find out he was a really big Peyton Manning fan. That was the only other 18 that came to mind.
I'm trying to think, who are notable 18s?
It's not a number you're going to get in basketball.
That's a QB number.
It's a QB number.
Yeah.
Seth Williams.
Seth Williams is 18. Yeah. Oh yeah, big Seth Williams guy.
Okay, when did he play here?
He played here from him and Bo.
18 to 20.
He
Okay.
overlapped it. He was so it would have been 18 to 21.
Okay.
Right?
20.
Because
he
goes straight out as a junior.
Yep.
Yep, that's right. But yeah, Bingaman though, he's one of those guys where you see him come to the plate, it's someone would have to tell you that's a freshman.
Yeah.
Someone would have to tell you that is a freshman, because the way he approaches, and I think Auburn showed pretty good plate discipline in this series, for the most part. But you've got some guys out there who they will just grind you into dust on the mound, and we had talked about it in the you make those guys get deep into the bullpen, and here's the part of the show where I'm going to say some things that are going to sound mean and they're going to sound hurtful, but they're not.
It's because they are.
Here it is. So here's my thing.
It's the whole show.
You dig in, right? Yeah. Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee, those last 2 games, yes, they looked great early against Auburn. They deserved that win. They played well. They played against UCF. For most of those other 2 games against Auburn, they looked like a 4 seed.
Yes.
Their outfielders had some of the worst arms I've ever seen, or at least their decisions. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, where are we going? And then you start digging into that pen, and they're pulling out dudes who have like whips near 3 and like ERAs at like 17 and 18.
And virtually no lefties.
There's a kid hitting who's 0 for 15 with 14 strikeouts because someone's got to hit. Like, you start doing into that, and it's like, that's when Auburn got to be a bully again, and they just lean on you and say, no. That was cute what you did earlier. You know, you got us, but we're bigger, we're stronger, we're better than you, and we'll just lean on you for it. And I think really for most of those last 2 games, they really showed that.
The most impressive, like, I think team-wide performance or effort, like in a moment, I guess we'll say, from this weekend to me was Game 2 against Milwaukee to start. They started, I believe, I forget his first name, but Kunke was I think he was the Horizon League Pitcher of the Year, but he's a reliever. And they started him because, what else do you have?
Throw your best stuff.
And it looked like, whether it was Butch, Gabe, whoever, it looked like they just rounded up that lineup in the dugout and said, I don't care how it looks, what you see. Don't swing at a single pitch until you get to 2 strikes. And I don't know that it played out verbatim that way, but I believe Mason McCrane's first at bat went 6 pitches and he grounded out to like second or short. And I was like, that's what you need. If you're not going to be getting the hit or the big swing, you need to eat into this guy. And then how long did he go?
He went, so like the first inning, I think, was a 22-pitch inning, and they didn't score, but it was very obvious, like, oh, they are working this guy. And in that second inning,
because what Milwaukee had after him was pretty suspect too, right? The question was, it was like, if this is a guy who probably isn't going to go too deep because he's been a reliever for much of the season, and after him,
and then
there's a question of what
they throw a guy in. They throw a guy in with their season on the line whose whip was nearly 3, and it's just like, all right, well,
was that the kid from Japan?
No, it was the kid after him.
He low-key kind of hoped for him.
He locked in for a second.
That was a funky motion.
When Auburn started to pile on there in the final game, it was they throw this kid out there, and like the broadcast shows his ERA, which is like 10 or 12 or something like that, and you look at and I start doing the quick because it was like, here's his hits allowed, and it's like walk strikeouts, and I start doing the math, and I'm like, hold on a minute, like this, his whip's almost 3, like they should be able to pound this kid, and they did.
Was that the inning where they scored 3 runs on no hits?
That would, against.
That was.
It's just, again, like that's one of those things where it's like sometimes Milwaukee had to play really well early, and they deserved that first win, and they shell shocked Auburn and jumped on them, and they got it right,
and outplayed UCF the next day,
and they outplayed UCF
to get to the final.
But then it's like it's the whole thing. It's a joke, or it's a cop out whenever like you hear, like when a team gets upset. You'll see a team's fans be like, well, if we played this game 9 more times, you wouldn't beat us. And it's like, maybe that might be true, but we only had to do it once. The problem for Milwaukee is they had to beat Auburn again, and it was going to be really, really hard for them to do that.
Dude, Mason McCrane, I don't fault him for sliding into third, but, he probably has an inside the park home run if he does not
100%.
slide.
100%, because, they did not trust their outfielders to throw the ball toward a base without a written permission slip. It was bizarre seeing it. And again, look, team that finished with a losing record, team that was happy to be there and made the most of their time there. But for Auburn, it's just you weather the storm and you keep plugging away, and eventually talent wins out more often than not. And I think you saw that.
It was a great story, but it was a great story for a reason.
Exactly.
You would think that, especially Sunday night.
No one would be turning back close if NC State was doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You'd think Auburn would be the team feeling the pressure on Sunday night because they're the ones that can't lose that game. Milwaukee had the benefit of knowing, well, even if you lose, you play again Monday. It felt like one team was clearly looser.
Yep.
And maybe Auburn playing 9 innings and having been at the ballpark since 10 o'clock that morning actually benefited them to start the Milwaukee game. Because with Milwaukee, I wonder if those guys knew all day that they were going to play that night. Like there's the question of with the weather and with how late the Auburn UCF game was going. Like and again, I'm not trying to make any excuses for Milwaukee here, but like it was clear Auburn seemed to be the looser team early on in a game where you'd think Auburn should be the team feeling some pressure.
Now I'm wondering if Brian Matthews brought them coffee too.
Ooh,
we might be missing.
He's a nice
some
guy. He would do it.
I can see it.
with Bingaman, it's like this is cliche like Moneyball scout stuff. But and Adam, you remarked on it earlier. Like this is one of those guys where it sounds a little different coming off the bat.
Yeah.
And it did early in the season when you were saying like that's a true freshman who's beating out several far more proven options for at bats on this team. Like when you think about early in SEC play,
I think about Arlington. I think he had 3 home runs. He had more than one. I know that much. But like I think sans Bristol Carter was their MVP that weekend, and they go out there and sweep. And he was playing right field all weekend. You know, like that's when you saw him really step into it. To me, it was like, okay, they got another one.
So I wanted to ask you guys: is there anybody else hitter-wise you'd like to mention outside of those two? Adam, we'll start with you.
Cade Ballou.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it a lot in terms of the pitching staff of like you need one more guy who just really goes in there at a moment and steps it up and gives you an answer. And like, I'm trying to think. I don't know that you necessarily had one of those guys. You managed to lean on all of your usuals. I guess technically Ryan Hetzler, right? But you wanted something of that ilk, that vibe in your lineup. And what Cade Ballou did this week, the fact that you got him back to a point where I don't know that I've seen him look that good at the plate since the end of his freshman year when he was just launching home runs like every other at bat.
Right.
That's huge because that's a 5-tool guy. That's a guy who could have gone pro in a hurry out of high school and chose Auburn instead. And now you've got him playing center field and giving you some pop towards the bottom of the order and, you know, flinging himself into the wall and making theatric catches.
I'll give you another one. Taylor Bell's at DH.
Yeah.
Inserted it like freshman catcher. Probably hadn't played when he was inserted the lineup in the SEC tournament. He had not played in a game since April 17th, and pretty much ever since then he's been a mainstay. And I mean, I think he had an RBI single in that second Milwaukee on the game on Monday. He had a home run, and I don't remember. I think it was the UCF game to give them insurance. Like that's a guy that wasn't playing, and all of a sudden pops into the lineup and gives you what he gives you.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a team. That was a team regional win, and to pick yourself up, and dust yourself off after what happened early on is really remarkable. But it's kind of what they've been doing all year. But to get it from top to bottom, like we talked before the season, the top to bottom potential of this batting order, the top to bottom potential of this pitching staff if they get going. And you showed you had depth, and I think it just overwhelmed these other teams down the stretch. In the end, Auburn's draw, they had to go down to the wire to but in the end, Auburn's draw was still a pretty favorable one. They just had to get over the initial shock.
Mm-hmm. I would single out another player, and it's Bub Terrell because and I think it's I mean there are a couple of moments, but like and if there's a crowd moment that stands out in your memory from this weekend, I feel like Bub Terrell's
the 84 pitch at bat.
I feel like Bub Terrell's definitely involved in it, and then he's also able to come through at times for Auburn and become, I mean, yeah, another guy who helped write his legend a little bit.
And that kid, for as much as he struggled at the plate top to bottom this weekend, like I'm not going to bank on it. I'm not going to throw out some metaphorical yard card here, but like if he comes out against Ole Miss and like looks nails, like he has a mind for this sport. Like just talking to him and spending some time with him, like as much as he slumped and struggled this weekend, like he's capable of washing that stuff off. And you saw it obviously in Monday, like his second hit being as big as it was, because obviously Chase Fralick puts you in the position where, okay, we have the advantage, and then the one that breaks it open of all people is Bub Terrell in the midst of this performance he's having. Yes.
Dude, I don't know about y'all, but watching that, it was one of those where it felt like it just happened in slow motion.
Yeah.
Like watching that ball go over the first baseman, I felt like I heard the crowd hold its breath.
He placed it beautifully.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is it's like everybody, especially with Bub, like always remembers the home runs. And they're worth remembering. They're phenomenal.
He's a wild swinger, and there are times where he'll chase and all that. But like
he's had some great 2-strike hits down the stretch.
Yep.
Correct. Yes.
He's become such a better situational hitter to me.
Some people just play the results when it comes to Bub. But I'll tell you this one thing about Bub, and again, this is not sarcastic. This isn't a slight. This is like legitimately a positive thing. One of the cool things I think about Bub Terrell when you watch him play, though, is he is such a, to borrow a phrase, he is such an aura and hype moments baseball player, where it's just like he's going to come through.
Is he a farmer? Is that what the kids are saying?
No, like he's going to deliver. He's going to give you something, right? And like even when he's down, he's striking out and all that. But you get those moments, and like he may be struggling at the plate, but he's going to do something crazy in the field, and it's just he has this kind of this air about him when he plays, and it's just that's fun. You don't get that in a lot of baseball players, especially college baseball players, where they're all aliens that speak the same language and have that same kind of personality. Like Bub, and there's a couple other guys on this team like that too, but Bub's one of the ones I always I'd say as a pitcher, Petro's got that about him, where it's just like, again, may struggle at times with that, but when the lights are on and you need him, he's going to give you something. He's going to be that dog, and I think Bub, like that's a fun baseball player. You can be the machine. You can be does everything perfectly every single time and all of that. Great. You can find those college baseball still with those guys. One of the things I really enjoyed about watching Bub is like Bub is going to be entertaining like from beginning to end, and I think you saw some of that in the regional.
And there's so much swagger to him. You said farming is the phrase the kids use. I think maybe we could go with he tends to Bub Mog.
Okay,
here.
yeah.
We can go with that.
He's aura maxing.
Yes, he's aura maxing. He's Terrell maxing you.
He's Terrell maxing.
But like, there's no ego. In the same way with Petrovic.
That's the thing.
In the same way with Petrovic, there's no ego, and so by way of that, it's like
Petro's quotes are like every time I see anything from him, I'm just like, this dude's like a coach. He
yes.
sounds like a coach out there.
Yes, and like that to me is again like the ability to just wash away the bad, wash away the funk. Like those two guys are able to do that.
Yeah. And there are other players we mentioned like with Fralick and with Bingaman. It's like these are hitters who had huge weekends. With Bub, it's a little bit of a different story where it's the story of a guy struggling and the Auburn crowd, these record Auburn crowds being able to show, hey, we've got your back. We believe in you. We're gonna make one of your at bats one of the most memorable moments of the weekend with your help, and you're gonna get that moment on Monday where you get that hit and you get that triumph.
The other thing that I want to shout out, as cliche as this is, and I know it got talked about a bunch. I know Butch mentioned it post-game, but I agree with Butch. Like, there have been so many moments this year where Plainsman Park is packed out, and it sounds like a public library.
Yeah.
And it's like your pitcher's on the mound, has an 0-2 count, is about to work himself out of a jam with 2 outs, and there is nothing.
Kind of leans into a little bit more of the too casual kind of. Like,
yes.
Because baseball is a sport where you can show up and just kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like,
you're not at the throats for the entire game like you would be at football or basketball.
Point being, that's the most, I think Butch said it, I'm just taking his words at that point, but that's the most connected that like I've seen that crowd, especially like on Monday night.
That's the magic of 4,000 hot dogs and 5,000 beers, right?
Basically.
Like that's what that'll get you.
And to see the players leave through the crowd after the game, like a reverse Death Rider situation, like that was pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, it's just the crowd looked and sounded great. And again, if you're a team like Milwaukee or you're a team like UCF or even NC State, where it's just like the people who are going to be there cheering you on are probably your parents. Like at that point in the street, when 8,000 people are cheering your misfortune at every, like, it's got to feel like the whole world's on top of you at that point, especially with the way you bring in the seats there. And it's just like, if you're in the outfield, you're going to get it. If you're in the infield, you're going to get it. Like, if you're in the dugout, you're going to get it. Like, that's something pretty special.
Milwaukee played at Alex Box earlier this year, but like that was an opening series, and it's like, it's a whole different vibe. This is a do or die, like situation.
Auburn's crowd turned up the pressure on Milwaukee. Like once Auburn seemed, and I think it was early on Sunday night, where it's like, okay, Auburn has seized the advantage. Auburn has seized control of these of this final, and Auburn like that. That's when the crowd, I think, made it even more uncomfortable for Milwaukee to try to get back into it. And you could see some long faces in the Milwaukee dugouts. I think once Auburn took control of Sunday's game, because I think these guys knew like they were running out of sand in the hourglass.
I saw someone on Sunday say like those were the most let's just get out of here at bats in the ninth inning that we've ever seen.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the umpire had some strike calls that were like, please let this be over with.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. We will talk here for a little bit about the Auburn Ole Miss series.
Can I
go
add
ahead.
So I want to talk about the Ethan Bingaman double he was ruled out for on the review after review.
That man tagged him on his belly button.
The only guess I could have is, are we sure that on the initial swipe, the first one, are we sure no part of the glove touches no part of Ethan? Because that's the only way
I'm
you
pretty
could.
sure.
That's the only way. That's the only way you could call Ethan out.
Regardless,
is if any part, like even if one of the little tassels on the glove touches like part of uniform.
But I
pants.
think why he's bringing it up is not just because of that; it's because of what happened after.
So,
the
of
review.
course. Oh, the circus.
We have seen teams with worse leadership and worse coaching fold after they had a call go against them. What did Auburn not do?
There you go.
Good poll.
I thought
Good
we
poll,
were just
Henry.
I thought we were
Good
bringing it up
poll.
because the guy said the call on the field stand safe, and it was like, huh?
That's the thing is it's like I always try to take a beat before I'm like, okay, am I about to tweet about officials or an umpire or whatever?
Nope.
And it was like after that I was like,
Nope,
that's the only thing I can tweet.
I got some dude who followed me for years who was like an ex official or something like that, or had something to do, and he wants to kill me. Like he wants me dead. I haven't blocked now, but like he wants me dead because I've complained about officials my entire life on the internet, and it's like, yeah, because it's not very good.
I think I just straight up was just like, yeah, that's the wrong call.
It is.
Yeah.
He tags him so high, and yeah, I don't think it's indisputable. Maybe, but anyway, but it's a good point about Henry. I didn't think about that part.
point.
A lot of programs make a big deal about their ability to overcome adversity, right? And then programs actually go out there and
Take the stairs.
That was if he's ruled safe, you have a guy at second with no one out, and you had, I think it would have been like 8-9-1, and you had guys coming up because it would have been Brandon McCrane. You probably have him bunt, and like that.
You just need two productive outs.
And that was at the time it was 2-2 game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Before we go on to this Ole Miss series and look ahead a little bit to the Supers, I want to say just timestamp this. Auburn men's golf just clinched the semifinal match against defending national champion Oklahoma State. Tigers are going for their second national title in 3 years. Tomorrow, or I guess Wednesday. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll be that day. But yeah, really cool stuff. Follow our friends Justin Lee at the Auburn Torch, who's got that covered, and Christian Clemente has been doing a great job covering it 247 as well. All right, boys, Auburn, Ole Miss. Adam, refresh us on Auburn, Ole Miss this season, what that looked like, and what Auburn should expect from the Rebs coming into this series, because y'all called it. Like, that Lincoln Regional was pretty up for grabs, and Ole Miss being the one to take it, I don't think surprises anybody.
I forget how many teams Auburn didn't play in conference this year.
4 or 5?
4 or 5, but this is among the few,
Yeah.
So them, LSU, South Carolina, and some fourth mystery contestant, I guess. But when I look at this team on paper, I see like veteran Auburn. I see Auburn a year from now, and like I don't know that the numbers are identical, but they've got a very solid pitching staff. I mean, Hunter Elliott is a guy who I think is only technically a junior, but I feel like I've been hearing his name for 6 years. He's one of those. And then I think he's only a sophomore, but Walker Hooks has been their like second starter this year, and he's just – I watched a little bit of him in Lincoln. He was fun to watch. And then you're kind of spearheaded by two power guys in I think it's Tristan Bassetta and Judd Utermark, and they both – I think that they both have 20 home runs, and I think it's 21 and 22 some sort of way, but – yeah, it's a team that has a pretty healthy pitching staff top to bottom. I know they've got at least one pretty solid bullpen arm, and then a lineup that delivers for him for the most part, but is really spearheaded by a couple of power bats. And so the biggest thing to me that I just think is going to be fascinating to watch is you're playing another SEC team that profiles like you in a lot of ways, and they've got just that much more experience than you. And I'm going to be really curious to see just like how that factors into all of it.
What kind of team was Ole Miss kind of during the season? I'm glad I wound up that question to show you how little I know about. I swore they played Ole Miss in the season in my head, but I think I'm getting them confused with the Mississippi State series.
Yeah.
Did you say Tennessee? Auburn didn't play Tennessee.
Auburn did not play Tennessee.
Not-
That's
nor
the fourth
Vandy.
mystery contestant.
I believe it's fifth. It's 5
Yeah.
teams, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it won Vandy as well.
Vandy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. What a year to not have LSU or Vanderbilt on your schedule.
We're Tennessee. I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
not the same, but like,
Yeah. No. You miss out on
by the way, that dude's doing great, isn't he?
the Tennessee head coach?
Yeah, former
Oh,
Tennessee
yeah.
head coach.
Oh, that former Tennessee head coach. Yeah.
Former Tennessee head coach who is now the manager of the San Francisco Giants.
I'm
who-
telling you, he's going to be at Arkansas in 2 years.
I mean,
When Dave-
I
when-
do not think that is going to
When
like, they look bad.
It's not going well. This is his Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
He's going to be college baseball's Nick Saban.
They are a half game up on the Rockies, but other
hey,
than
man.
that, it's not.
but they were
take the
expecting
wins.
to be like a playoff team this year.
Yeah, it's not.
He fired his third base coach this weekend. I saw that. What kind of team was Ole Miss this year? Like in terms of SEC, is to me like I guess vibes wise, it feels like hey, this is not like Oklahoma got out of the Georgia Tech, the Atlanta regional.
I don't know what it is about them. They're just always kind of demons in the postseason. Like
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was 2022. They weren't a national seed at all.
They were the last team in the field in 2022,
That's right.
and they won a national title.
I was going with Oklahoma, but yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, it was both. But like Oklahoma, I think was a 2 and made it to the title game.
Yeah.
But to me, it seem like these kind of teams where it's like not a national seed, but an SEC team that'll mess you up if you're not on your best. And I think not to pick on Dan here, but like I do think it was kind of fitting the number 1 and number 2 both lose this year. It's not. It happened last year, right? And it's not exclusive, but like I also kind of think a little bit where it's like, how many teams got out of it from the SEC? How many teams, didn't? And then like you look and say, okay, well. How tested was UCLA this season, at least recently? And like Georgia ACC is a good conference, but like how much was Tech really tested outside of playing like North Carolina and a couple other of those teams this year? SEC it's a gauntlet every weekend, and Ole Miss is one of those teams that's like you could see them in Omaha easily, but it's not. They weren't a team that was a contender this year, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, they to me, funny enough, with the Oklahoma mention, like I think they kind of had a similar season to Oklahoma. There was a point where you wondered if they would maybe host, whether that was just top 16 overall or maybe try to play their way into a top 8. But I think they finished at 500 in conference play.
Yeah,
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like all things considered, that's a pretty good record.
And there are a couple of stories in the postseason of, hey, that team that played a really tough schedule, maybe it benefited them when the chips were down this past weekend. Auburn comes to mind. I think you could talk about the USC Trojans that way, winning the A&M regional.
No, it's Troy.
And
Let's talk Troy.
and the other Trojans, the Troy Trojans, who go and win
not the
in
other
Gainesville.
Trojans, Little Rock.
and now we'll have a Trojan war with the old Sunbelt pals.
Troy
The Little Rock
hosting a
Trojans.
super regional is like one of the
Troy
coolest
hosting
things.
Little Rock in a super is just
We were
cinema.
so close, but we were so close to a Troy Jacksonville State. super
Yeah, that
regional,
would have been
and
electric.
that would have been a war.
And
But
Steve Beazer was so upset that he left for Grand Canyon.
Which I get it.
That blew my mind. I know Grand Canyon has
They're good.
They are, but I know they have hordes of money too. But like just the job he was doing there, I'm very
Less
fascinated.
controversial liberty.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Their kind of
exactly.
their whole business.
I
model.
explained Grand Canyon to somebody today as that when I was talking to them about
Were
this.
you were at the NCAA tournament where we watched Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Yeah, we're kind of Lopes fans over here now. But yeah, the like to be battle tested means so much here at this point in the postseason. And yeah, like when you see some Big Ten teams go down and you see some good ACC teams go down, you're like, and the SEC, not everybody in the SEC went through. Obviously, Florida got knocked out by the boys from
How
Troy.
about? I'll tell you what. I don't know how I'd recover from that Kentucky loss. Like the Kentucky was on the verge of. I mean, they balk in the winning run or the game tying run. They're an out away from winning the regional. in Morgantown.
Oh,
they,
wow.
They
I didn't
balk.
realize
They
that.
balk in the tying run, and then West Virginia wins on a walk off, and then wins the series. It is a haunting way to end a baseball season for at least one team in the SC that nearly overachieved. But you're right, there are others all over the. Look, there are a couple teams that went down in flames this weekend, and they're going to struggle to.
I don't know how Georgia Tech gets over that, man.
Yeah.
I saw a Georgia Tech fan or like a blogger or something tweets like, you're going to have to win a national championship to get over this. Like, that's the only thing that can cleanse you from this is that we've got to win a national championship soon. Because other than that, like, you're like, they're up 4 in the 6th in the final.
And I believe the stat was, I forget the exact year, but it's been at the very least 20 years since Georgia Tech's been to a Super. I had no clue. And Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech. They've had some good teams.
Georgia Tech and Florida State felt
Didn't
like two
Auburn-
of the
did-
safer bets.
The last time Auburn went to Omaha, or they beat Georgia Tech in the regional.
That was
2 Omahas
19?
ago.
yeah,
Was it
yeah, that
19?
was 19 because that was
Sorry, that was 19.
that was the Stephen Williams walk off.
Yes. I get my years.
where the
confused.
announcer thought the game was tied.
Correct.
On the
Yes.
Yeah, it was a-
Oh wow, I do remember that.
Yeah, it was a brand new ball game.
But no, from the
They
ACC.
beat Carolina in that Super, right?
Yeah.
Tech and
That's
Florida.
the wild inning.
Yep.
When we got the bracket, Georgia Tech and Florida State just felt like two of the safer. You thought
Tech has they're loaded. Y'all saw them this
That-
year, but that's as talented of a team as you're going to find in college baseball.
We are, I would maybe say, shades of, I think it was that Oregon State team that won it all in 19 that had Adley Rutschman. No, that was 2018, excuse me. Adley Rutschman, Stephen Kwan, was loaded to the gills with guys. Give it about 5 years, and we're going to be looking at this year's Georgia Tech team as one of the best teams in college baseball that never was. That lineup was stacked to the gills. The pitching,
or I guess 23 LSU.
yeah.
23 LSU is probably going to
23 LSU was
Dylan Cruz
just,
needs to get his act together, but in the majors. but yeah.
Vitello had a team full of pros one year, didn't he? At Tennessee,
Yeah.
They're a team that
24 title.
a couple of those guys have already
24,
made.
and it was
Like Christian Moore.
I think it was 23.
Yeah,
he had
Beck.
Beck and Jordan Beck and Drew Gilbert. I always get their first names mixed up,
Yeah,
so I may have done that.
Dolander.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So but yeah, that's that Tech team loaded, and
they didn't have the pitching.
well, and I guess that's the whole thing with Auburn is this was a weekend of carnage, so much across college baseball, and Auburn was ripe for it. I mean, people were licking their chops. It's Auburn's gonna be next. Auburn's next, and where
Southern Miss lost their regional hosted, and that would have been Troy's opponent,
right.
If
And
a
it's
conference matchup.
and it's if you if you look at some of those teams that didn't make it, UCLA just got punked, and that one was tough. But how many? Florida, Georgia Tech.
It's one thing when St. Mary's does that to us in basketball,
Correct.
but
yeah.
but to do it to us in an NCAA regional,
There's several of those teams though that got knocked out where it was they faded down the stretch, and Auburn got their rough stuff out of the way early and got back up on a upward climb, and it made a pretty big difference.
I said this midway through the UCF game. It kind of reminded me of the Creighton game in the sense that it was it's touch and go a little. They're not gonna end their season with a loss to UCF.
Yeah,
It was
you're getting their best shot, and here and the quality's gonna show itself up.
and I think in the aftermath of the Milwaukee game, it felt like, with the exception that the season wasn't over, it felt like the loss to Yale. That the loss to Milwaukee was as inexplicable as Auburn basketball.
Nobody got
losing.
elbowed in the neck though.
And there wasn't an early ejection, but the fact is, Auburn.
Pretty much thought about it.
Well, I mean, in theory, he wasn't ejected, but Jake Marciano left very early, and you did not expect him to leave that early.
That's a good point.
I guess that was an early
Going
ejection.
going off of that. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Super Regional format is best of 3. It is playing a weekend. Very fitting that it's Auburn Ole Miss because it's an SEC weekend series. Except for this time, you win 2 and you move on to Omaha for the College World Series. If you don't need a third, you don't get a third. This is it. It's just who can be the best over the weekend. What do you think happens setting up the pitching staff this weekend, knowing that Auburn just had to go through a meat grinder to get to this point. They get a few days off. It's a quicker turnaround because I guess I didn't realize that they started some of those supers on Saturday.
Yeah, they don't want like 8 game threes potentially. So I think they stagger them.
And that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. It's just like I guess I didn't realize it made that turnaround. But you get to play on Friday. What do you think?
Not a surprise for Auburn, by the way, that they wanted the Friday, Saturday, Sunday one because Saturday, Sunday, Monday would have maybe bled into the soccer game.
Yeah, that would have been so cool though.
Next week
would have been so cool.
What? How do you think Butch Thompson and Everett line this up?
I don't think it's based on the performance that he gave you in the regional. I think it's purely that he would be going on short rest if you pitched him in a standard sense. But my biggest question mark in it all is Jake Marciano. Where does he go in this rotation?
Could you feel fine holding him for Game 3?
I think that's about what you do.
But you could make the argument that Petrovic and Alvarez, do you say one of those guys for potential Game 3, or do you try to win this thing 1-2 with what the guys who've been your top performing arms here?
And I would add, where does Jackson Sanders fall into this category as well?
I wonder about with the way that he's been going. I forget exactly what his total pitch count was over the weekend. It had to have touched triple digits, but there were no. Jake Marciano and LJ Cormier were the only two who didn't touch triple digits. But with the way that he's just been staggered, I wonder if you try to throw bullpen like Game 1. And when I say bullpen, I don't mean like your midweek bullpen. I mean like go out there and see if Jackson Sanders can give you at least 2, see how he's feeling.
You use him as an opener.
Yes.
Would Hetzler potentially be in that?
I think Hetzler has pitched his way into that. Now, you got to make sure that you're you got to get him.
I would definitely think so.
You got to get him the electrolytes and more than 8 hours of sleep probably for these next few days, to really like get him back. But I think
Henry's not going to be able to be available Game 1.
Yeah, no, I don't think Henry would be.
The sleep part.
Yeah. I think I should be good for Game 2 though.
Yeah. We'll get you some Brondo.
I can be a good setup, man.
Yeah.
What number are they putting on your jersey, Henry?
There's a number one. We'll go 23. I was gonna make a 6-7 joke, and I backed out.
Oh man.
If I could pitch left-handed, which I'm left-handed in a lot of ways, but not in sports, is weird part of my upbringing. I would have definitely my role would be lefty that you could only I'm pure matchup. It's lefty. Do not expect me to throw more than a couple of batters. I would have been toast when the major league rule was well, you got to get out of the inning or face 3 batters. I'm like, no. Just 1 or 2, please. Thank you.
By the way, Sanders threw 113 in the 2 games combined.
But
this is where depth matters. We talked about how deep this group is. If we're sitting here thinking about all that, I know for a fact Ole Miss isn't quite as deep.
Again, one of these silver.
It's a depth charge.
Hey.
Damn Peck. That's all I have to say on that one. But the thing, again, another silver lining of all of this is you finally get to throw Jackson in the way that you've foreshadowed for the last few weeks of we want to throw him out there on Friday and bring him back on Sunday. And you have that happen. And then by way of necessity, you have the exact same thing happen with LJ Cormier, who to me is just built for the exact same thing. That's a guy you could have make 2 appearances on a weekend. And you got to throw them both in that fashion in regional play. And, with the exception of Game 1 for Cormier, he bounces back and is absolute nails.
Dude, they couldn't touch him.
8 strikeouts, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 1 hit.
1 hit.
Shutout.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's next in line on the mound of those freshmen. Just unbelievable stuff from him. But you've got options, and so I don't know how it'll set up. If I had to guess, if you're going standard starter, it'll be some order of Dre and Petrovic. But you could get really funky with it if you wanted to.
I think the fact that it is a 3-game series again, and you can treat it like the way you have been treating your pitching rotation all the way to end the regular season, I think that's a pretty big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the fact that Ole Miss has one of the better starting pitchers in the SEC too. I think the thought that if you go bullpen against Cade Townsend in that first game, it's you put a ton of pressure on Ole Miss to win that game, because if you can win,
you can steal that.
If you can knock out their ace and also win your bullpen game,
and again,
like,
they'd have to start him game 1 too.
Exactly. Which I think they will, just because it's like it feels like maybe they could put that's a move they've been doing all season, and it feels like they would want to go with their best guy. But you're right, they could get strategic and maybe give him a little bit of extra rest after the regional.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and then you get another loaded weekend in Plainsman Park, and I think they said they sold out of their ticket allotment in like a minute today. Also, it's a PR move. It's a savvy PR move, but I appreciate we're Auburn sports head coaches, and we're going to buy tickets for the students to make sure we have as
you think
many.
They're paying sticker? You think the Malvos are paying sticker for those student tickets?
You think Gullish gets a bulk group ticket discount? No, because for those of you who don't know, that was again legit, and then Butch Thompson's got it lined up for the Super Regionals as well. That coming in light of what happened in Tuscaloosa this weekend is very funny to me, because there was to the point where the Alabama head coach complained about how there wasn't enough fan support, especially out in the outfield for this regional, which Alabama kind of cruised through their regional this week, and has got a pretty good team, obviously, but. I love the little rivalry gamesmanship there from a PR perspective.
And the other thing I'll say, I wanted to touch on this when we were talking about the fans. I think it was a byproduct of the weekend, of the fact that your first game's at noon on a Friday, and what followed was hit by a bunch of weather delays. But they put in some additional seating, and I really noticed it in the deck out back on right field. They had a whole nother level of risers and bleachers that they didn't have last year. And until Monday, there weren't really many people, if any, on that back riser that they added. On Monday, that thing was packed. Mm-hmm. That thing was packed.
How much, Henry? How much do you think the discounted hot dogs and beer played a part into this?
Oh man!
Did you happen to see the A&M? Did you see the A&M tweet?
Yes.
So A&M, I don't know if you saw this. A&M was like, we've got our special prices for their finale. By the way, they got knocked out as well.
Yeah, there's a lesson in here.
Yeah, and it was like, here's our prices, and it was like $6 and $7 and $8 for everything. It was insane. And Auburn was like, we're giving you Costco prices on these hot dogs. Get in here.
It's like the joke in 40-Year-Old Version where they go to the nightclub and it's like, oh, it's $8 beer night here at the. It's like special promotion at College Station where they lowered the hot dogs.
Folks were getting rowdy and making sure they were well hydrated and I guess had the strength. The hot dog game was crazy. They kept showing folks just devouring hot dogs in the stands that whole weekend.
They should have had a counter on the scoreboard at they should have had a McDonald's style.
Take away one of the pitch clocks. Who needs it?
NC State apparently.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we didn't talk about that. That's to end your career on a pitch clock violation is pretty rough.
It blows on principle. It's awesome that Elliott Avent, who I learned the story in full this weekend. George Nunnally relayed it to me because Anthony Sanderson, Auburn's trainer, was NC State's trainer when Elliott Avent hit the spin move, arguing a call. If you guys have seen that video, if you haven't, go look it up. It's hilarious. So the backstory of it, I knew that he had some foot injury. I thought he had surgery. George told me the story this weekend. Elliott Avent was out walking his dog one morning, a couple weeks before this game and this spin move moment. And his dog, little puppy, sees a little snake going through the grass, picks it up, copperhead. Ooh. Bites the puppy on the nose, and Elliott goes to grab the copperhead and bites him on the ankle, calls Anthony, and he's like, Anthony, I need you to get down here right now with 2 people, and I need somebody to take my dog to the vet, and I need somebody to take me to the ER. And gets to the ER, and they go to give him the anti-venom shot, and they tell him before they're about to give it to him that it's $50,000 and that your insurance doesn't cover it. And so Elliott Avent goes, no, don't do that. I'm not paying for that.
$50,000?
Yes. And I didn't know this.
Straining every healthcare comment I ever want to make right now.
Yeah, touche.
Gosh.
I didn't know this. I assumed that if you get bit by a copperhead, it's anti-venom or death, you can heal from it.
Really?
And he was healing from it. He couldn't wear shoes because his foot was so swollen. He was wearing flip-flops. But for games, he would put on shoes. And so this man with the biggest swollen right or left foot, I don't know which one, goes out there to argue a call and just is like up in this home plate umpire's face. And for those of you who haven't seen the video, the home plate umpire is massive. And eventually he walks away and another ump tries to block him. And then Elliott Avent hits this spin move and gets right back in the home plate ump's face. And I guess
doing that on a poisoned foot.
On a poisoned foot. And I guess what Elliott told Anthony after all that happened, or Scott Foxhall, who was the pitching coach at NC State at the time, if I'm right, was that just the adrenaline took over. And so
awesome.
He's got the devil in his boot, like Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
On principle, terrible to see a 30-year career go out like that. But at the same time, the fact that man went out yelling at an ump and throwing his hat, poetic.
Yeah. I will say, though, if it costs me $50,000, you better be giving me the stuff that turns me into Wolverine. Like that is insanity.
I better be jumping out of that hospital bed and looking like Steve Rogers after he got the serum.
I better be jumping like Vince Carter, like when I get done with this, like insane. All right, fellas, before we wrap up, tell the folks at home how they can follow you and all that good stuff. Adam, we'll start with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're just going straight to the source, just head to MontgomeryAdvertiser.com and click sports at the top, and you'll get a little tab for Auburn right there, and if you click on that, you'll have everything you need. And if you're looking for me, whether that's on Twitter or TikTok, just search at Cole Reporter. That's my last name, Cole, in the word reporter, and you'll be able to find me wherever you are looking for me.
Henry?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for my work, just basically stay where you are listening to.
Don't touch that dial.
Do nothing. Continue to do nothing, and you will get Henry's work.
Yes.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Henry_Patton23.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll have coverage this weekend from Plainsman. Looking forward to that. It's been a blast. I mean, Henry, I will say this. Henry approached me, a month and a half, 2 months ago.
It was right after the Texas game where Aiden Robbins misplayed the ball in center. I was like, this is kind of electric. I kind of see something here.
And Henry was like, hey, you want somebody to cover Auburn baseball for you? And we're like, absolutely, because I have not had any experience doing it. Didn't want to parachute in doing it. Obviously, with covering basketball and football as late into the years as they go with spring football and all that, it's always been tougher for me. So we're glad we've had Henry on. It's been really, really awesome. And then obviously Adam being our Auburn baseball emeritus contributor there. But I want to wrap up the show with a couple of things. Number one, Dan needs to talk about what's going on in his life, because there were multiple people who asked me this weekend if you were quitting this show, and I was like, if he is, I don't know of this. So
yeah, and it's.
I mean, our last contract negotiation was very bitter, but we can't. Our agents worked out all the details.
Yeah, arbitration, man.
Yeah. I didn't want to go on like a big Derek Jeter farewell tour. You know what I mean? So yeah, at the end of.
Trading Dan to the Padres for prospects
at the end of last week.
Feel good about Ethan Salas.
I mentioned on the final segment of the week on the drive that I was stepping away from that show, and I guess now I'm on the air at my new job, so I could talk about it a little bit. That I'm a news reporter for WVAS in Montgomery, Alabama State's NPR affiliate. It's a 90.7. FM in the river region, and it reaches all the way into Auburn, into different parts of the state. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll be doing some news updates. I'll be doing some features. I'm learning a lot about the university, and I'm really excited to get started. And I'm not leaving the drive on bad terms. I am deeply grateful for the time I got to spend working at the drive. Bill Cameron is one of my best friends and someone that I'm gonna, someone I'm gonna care about for forever. And it's tough to leave a show after 9 years, but it was. I thought that a new challenge seemed, it seemed like something really exciting, and I guess maybe I would come back to Auburn Network someday. It's not. I like to think that I'm leaving on good terms, and I
hope so. We'd still like to use the studio.
Yeah, and the fact that they haven't deleted my
that was a good sign. Yeah, it was a good sign. Yeah,
still punch into.
We still plan on, as long as we're allowed to, using Auburn Network's facilities, they've been very, very gracious with us and helpful throughout, I guess, the year plus we've been doing this in here. And we're still planning on doing that, but, it's a lot easier when Dan literally works here.
And the time I got to spend on the drive, like, I got to meet so many fantastic people, and I got to experience so many great moments. So it's really special to me, and there's no doubt in my mind that the work I did on the drive and the work I've done on this podcast and the work I did with Troy played a role in me getting this position.
But to be very clear, Dan is not leaving this podcast.
That is. I currently have no plans to leave the Auburn Observer podcast. Yeah. Like that's what I'll. That's
if
he
leaves the Observer podcast, NPR is going to be here. No, what's his face? Fresh Air guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm going straight to Ira. I'm going straight to Ira Glass if Dan leaves the Observer podcast. No, Dan, we're excited about Dan's new job, and we will, because of Dan's new job, the Observer podcast in the near future we may have to change some things up recording wise, time wise, facilities wise, and all that, but we're looking to still have him around.
And I'm still going to be covering Auburn, and I think that like a lot of my job involves covering area sports, regional sports, not just in the Montgomery area, but in the state. So yeah, I'm still going to want to stay as plugged in as possible, not just for my work on this podcast, but for my other duties as well. I want to be. I still want to be, and I'm still going to live in the Auburn area. Yeah. So it is.
You'll still know where to find him.
Yeah, and I
the
do
wanted poster at the post office.
And I do hope people continue to listen to the drive, because I do.
Absolutely.
A lot of my best friends are folks who appear on that show and work on that show, and
then Adam also goes on there a few times.
They let me get on there and burp into the mic every once in a while.
It's always great. But yeah, excited for Dan, and we're excited to see what this looks like next. But yes, as of right now, there are no plans for Dan to be leaving the Observer podcast. But also, we got to say, again, got to give him some space and some time and some grace if we have to change some things up with the podcast in the near future, because it's a new job and it's very important. It's a full-time job, and again, Ira Glass knows what he does. It's on him if things go south on the Observer. But
I want to host Wait, Don't Tell Me someday.
You can do that as well.
I want a couple of This American Life Dan Peck narrated episodes. That's what I want.
Yeah,
fresh air with Dan Peck.
Yeah, so we got that going. The second thing I wanted to say before we go,
is this where we talk about obsession?
I mean,
we'll do the box office report on the next episode.
Well, okay, so I was going to say this. Our next episode is going to be a mailbag.
Oh,
we do a mailbag episode. We're going to try to do these once a month, especially during the off season. We did one a few weeks ago. It's not been quite a full month, but since we were recording this one a little later this week, and because of the schedule with baseball going on and all that, I just thought, hey, let's go ahead and do the mailbag podcast this week. So we'll record that on Thursday night. So you got time. Send in your questions if you've got them for me or Dan. We will be on that. I wanted to say, though, not quite full on box office report, but I'm on a new journey in the art of the motion picture at this point. So real quick, I bought the new James Bond video game.
Oh.
The guys who did Hitman made it, and it's really, really good and fun. While I'm playing it, it's an original story. It's all that. It's kind of like a young James Bond in the modern times. I was like, you know what? I don't think I've seen all of the Bonds. I've seen most of them. There's some I have not seen in a very long time. I'd like to revisit them. My wife had not watched any of them. I don't think she has watched a minute of any of them before.
Now that's a podcast.
That's
a podcast I would listen to. Is you and your wife watches every.
So right now, in case you want to go on this journey with the Bonds, we started the other night with Dr. No. Watched that. I don't know if I had ever seen it at the beginning. It already been you remember when Spike TNN used to do they would do Bonds during Thanksgiving week. They would do all the Bonds in order. I'd probably seen it during then.
Did you just mention Spike?
Yeah,
Spike TV.
TNN.
I have not thought about that.
It's now the Paramount Network.
I have not thought about that TV channel in forever.
Yeah.
1,000 Ways to Die. Shout out.
MXC.
I don't remember that one.
ECW.
Most extreme, yeah.
Okay.
That's really going back.
Roller
NXT Most
Jam?
Extreme Elimination Challenge? No, we'll talk about it.
I had a
Spanish right
TNA
now.
phase in middle school, and that was about it for
wow,
me.
okay.
Yeah, no, I feel like we've talked about that before.
And anyway, if you want to watch the old Bonds, they are really hard. Like, there was a stretch where they were all on Netflix, and then like Amazon's got the rights to them, but they're like kind of piecing them out right now. If you have a subscription to the Criterion channel, or get a free trial for a week, which is what I've got, the first 3, Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger are all on, and so I'm currently doing that. So follow along.
Also,
At one point, I will try to rank all of the Bonds that I see.
You can find the James Bond DVD box set at an alarming number of estate sales too,
Yes.
right? Like this.
Yeah.
That's
I would love to get a Blu-ray.
fixture.
If I could hit a Blu-ray of that. But yeah, so I watched Dr. No, and I'll tell you, man, like, you start watching it, and there's some stretches where it's like, okay, it's kind of plotting. There's some stuff that doesn't really hold up or age very well. There's some stuff that's really, really good and really entertaining, really exciting. And then you look up and you think, this movie was made in 1962. Like, it's an old movie, 60-plus years. So if you want a fun little assignment here in the summer, or just watch the old Bonds with us. Like, I know the Brosnan ones are going to be terrible. Like, I know for a fact that's not going to be fun.
We were asked, weren't we asked to do a top 4 of our favorite Bond films or the good Bond films or something like that? I want to say there was
Somebody had one at one point.
and because I put Austin Powers, I put Austin Powers on mine.
I do want to wrap up with this one. Because we had somebody ask this not too long ago. And
Brosnan's a good Bond, but
we will open. I want to open this up to the rest of y'all.
The movies don't work.
I want to make sure that you guys get in on it. Let's see. We did it was our top 4. Kevin asked. He wanted an observe for, or the next mailbag, the 4 movies you're most excited to be released this year that are left. Do you guys have any, like, we could bet like one?
I'm going to Google right now. Give me a couple seconds.
Yeah. Go. Dan, do you have one off the top of your head?
Odyssey is probably the movie.
Odyssey's like the easiest one.
Odyssey's like if you told me I could only go to the movies once this summer, I'd go see the Nolan. I'd go see Odyssey. Beyond that,
we could come up with the 4 together. I'm interested in the Once Upon a Time spinoff.
Okay.
The Cliff Booth one. I'm interested in that just because I really like the movie.
I'm not going to go see it in theaters because it's probably only going to be in theaters for a week. I thought I saw it was trending for like maybe the worst opening box office of the year, but I'm very excited to watch it once it hits streaming because it was a very big piece of my childhood. He-Man.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Did that already come out?
It is coming out on the 5th. It's coming out in 3 days.
Phil Knight's kid directed it.
Really? Like Nike Phil Knight.
I've heard
Travis.
I've heard somewhat decent reviews of it.
I saw a
He also directed Bumblebee.
I saw a clip.
He-Man was a big part of your childhood?
Yeah, I really liked
You're younger
He-Man.
than me.
Yeah, that is weird.
No, I used to watch
Like old stuff?
And
I mean, you are a Steelers
That'd be
fan.
like if you were like I idolized Larry Bird growing up.
I did
It's like,
not.
wait a minute.
I did not. For what it's worth, did not idolize Larry Bird. I think my like de facto athlete when I was a kid that I loved was Marshall Falk.
Okay.
But
That's a great one.
the 3 like vintage
Because you weren't
shows,
a teenager in the early '80s. That's our
Basically.
point about He-Man.
Well, so
That's crazy.
it was He-Man, old Scooby-Doo all the time, and then we had a box set of it wasn't called Justice League. It was called Super Friends. Yeah, and
So they all,
me and my brother. I remember there was
Wonder Twins, right?
There was one summer we got to like 3 weeks left before school, and we're in grade school. My dad comes in and he's like, "You two need to go outside and quit watching this," because we had watched a box set of Super Friends just like the entire summer.
Do y'all? I've touched on this before. Y'all know what I grew up on?
Dirk Nowitzki highlights.
Well, yes, but I certainly wasn't growing up on the Cowboys. I'll tell you what.
That's kind of brutal. Yeah, you have lived your life at a point in time where the Cowboys have not been awesome.
Born in 01, never seen them make a conference championship. Anyways, we grew up, me and my siblings, because my parents, we grew up on The Simpsons, and we had.
Oh, that's great.
I think we have at
Talking to the right people here.
Probably the first 9 seasons on DVD. We would sit.
That's all you really need, right?
Oh, you know the best part about that? The commentaries.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Shout out Bill.
I need to shout out Dan Peck for a second because there was one night a few months ago where sometimes when I don't have anything to watch, I'll just turn on reruns of seasons 1 through 10, and I got somewhere maybe on the back half of season 5, and there's just a run where everything is just heat. And I texted him, just a fellow Simpsons lover, and I was like, I'm on this episode, it rocks. This man sent me an MP3 of the entire commentary for the episode that I'm assuming you had it downloaded to your phone.
Yeah, I got about 100 of them on my
It
phone,
was incredible.
like, in MP3 form.
I was like, of course Dan Peck
he
has
goes
this
to
on his
sleep
phone.
listening
I have fallen asleep to a Krusty Gets Canceled commentary, or the one with Conan. The Homer Goes to College. There's some really good ones. But I guess the He-Man thing is reminiscent of me having seen every Gilligan's Island episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
One could say my obsession with
Thanks,
mystery.
Ted Turner.
One could say my obsession with Mystery Science Theater is like that too. Considering Mystery Science Theater, the original run went off when I was 4, 5. Like I remember, I got into watching it later in life, but I do remember my dad watching it random like reruns on like Comedy Central.
It's a little different. I was like -20 when they stopped making Gilligan's Island episodes, right?
It's a good point. It's a good point. Henry, do you have a movie that you want? You're kind of you're an interesting movie guy because like sometimes
Minions guy? Is it Minions? Is it Minions versus Monsters?
Look, just because we ended the way we did last week, I don't know. The Odyssey kind of moves me, but yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not. I just kind of see stuff come out, and if it looks cool, I'll go.
I will watch the new Spider-Man movie.
I was going to
I'm
say,
Mark.
did we say one or did we? I thought we said 3. Did we say 3 or did we just say one movie?
We had the Odyssey, we had He-Man, we had.
I meant in terms of like how many we were naming individually.
One each.
Okay, well,
Justin Ferguson and I are both outspoken Toy Story.
I blew it on He-Man. Oh man.
Well, do you have another one? Toy Story 5.
I'm scrolling through on IMDb right
With
now.
Conan O'Brien in Toy Story 5.
And I mean, I'm very excited to see the new Spider-Man. The other one that I've seen to this point, I'm just getting to late in the year, October, November award season movies.
Like bait.
I am geeked to see Supergirl.
Oh,
okay.
And I will say too, baseball tie-in. Shout out the folks on the parking deck. Had a great chat a couple series ago. Just went up there after a game. I'll go up there sometimes, just say hey to them. Had a great chat with Kevin Ives, who runs the Plainsman Parking Lot Twitter account.
Invaluable resource.
And we were talking just a bunch about comics, and we started talking about all these just kind of the cinema of it all right now. And we were talking about DC, and he was talking to me about the run. The comic run that they're going off of for this Supergirl movie, and I'm just like, I'm very, very excited for that movie. I think it's going to be very good.
I thought every conversation me and Justin.
This came out a couple days ago, but I'll still I'm kind of moved by Backrooms.
Oh,
okay, because I had no idea what that was because I don't A, watch horror, or B, I'm not like young anymore. But apparently it's it's a thing. You were saying earlier, it is crazy.
We'll talk about it maybe more. Let's do it now. We're already talking movies. So Backrooms made.
Podcast is gonna be like 2 hours long.
It's Backrooms had like a crazy opening weekend for a movie that's like directed by a 20-year-old and based on a meme. And again, I know it sounds dismissive. I don't know very much about it. But it was like a YouTube. It was like a mini short film series that
I just like sci-fi horror type. That's like kind of my thing.
Okay,
I think it's awesome.
What's a good example of that? Like of a movie you really like?
Oh God, my mind just went blank.
Did you watch Nope?
No.
Oh,
Nope is awesome,
Bro,
Henry.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You can ask me about
like 90% of movies, and it's
You
no.
should watch Nope. You like the sci-fi horror.
But what Henry's talking about though is I think that's the story of Backrooms, is the idea that very few film franchises have broken through to 18 to 29-year-olds right now, and there are franchises that meant a ton to people 15, 20 years ago that maybe don't matter at all to kids under 30, like Indiana Jones, like potentially Star Wars, as we're seeing from the second weekend.
I mean, they're trying to go full circle. They're trying to make another Bond, and it's Denis is going to do it, and it's supposed to be really, really good, but they don't even know who the Bond is yet.
No, the new kingpins of IP are Backrooms and Super Mario and things like that. And the Minions.
Everything comes back to the Minions, is what we're hearing.
Bonana.
Super Mario RPG, Sonic the Hedgehog, Donkey Kong 3, Adventures of Lolo 1 and 2, King's Knight, Dig Dug, Juman Fu, Harvest Moon.
You write this song?
Link Puzzle Pokemon, Toe jamming Earl in Panic on Funkotron.